thanks for checking out episode 80 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. Can you believe our 80th episode already? Pretty wild. As usual, this is your host, Greg Lindberg. Here on this episode, we are chatting with a longtime advocate for the blind and visually impaired from the great state of South Dakota, and she is highly involved with the American Council of the Blind, in addition to this campaign that ACB started a few years ago called Get Up and Get Moving. So let's go ahead and dive now into episode 80. Alright, so my guest here on this episode of Eyes Free Sports is Koni Sims, and Koni is a longtime advocate for the American Council of the Blind and within her community in many different initiatives and efforts, and she is also very involved in the ACB Get Up and Get Moving campaign. Koni, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you, Greg, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and excited to get into your background and especially this campaign that ACB has had now for a couple years.
It'll be fun. It's a good campaign. We're just kind of still in the infant stages and things are revolving all the time, so it's going to be good.
Absolutely. No doubt. Yep. So why don't we just start kind of from the beginning of your story and just kind of your personal background. So kind of as far back as you'd like to share, just talk to us about where you're from and kind of your visual impairment as well. I
live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So it's in the southeast corner of the state. I grew up in Groton, which is in the northeast corner of the state. I was born with aniridia, which is a very rare condition. Usually with aniridia, you may have a stump of the iris, and it's usually genetical, but I don't have any family anywhere that we've traced back as far as we can go that have it. So I don't have a stump of the iris. So since I don't have any stumps of the iris, I don't have the pupils either. I was born with cataracts, I should say, also with nearsightedness. So I always knew that my vision was bad. I attended public school. My parents always advocated really strongly for me, and I will never forget when I was a sixth grader, probably about 12 years old, my parents said to me, you have to learn how to stand up for yourself because no one else ever will if you don't do it yourself. And I've never forgotten that. And about that same time, I was told that I could wake up tomorrow being blind. I may never go blind completely, or I could be blind tomorrow. So I decided when I was a freshman, we were 20 miles from Aberdeen, which is the third largest city in the state, and where the School for the Blind and Visually Impaired is in South Dakota. So I decided I wanted to go and get extra training so I'd be prepared for later in life. I felt like I needed some more training in low vision because my vision was always fairly stable. So an example of what I see is if you ever go and get your eyes dilated, I see like 100 times worse. So my eyes are always dilated. When you look at me, you're seeing the reflection off my optic nerve. So yeah, everything is very, very bright. I can't control any light input. So if it's too bright, I can't see. If it's too dark, I can't see. And my vision did change back in when I was 19. So my freshman year, I decided to go part-time in Groton and part-time in Aberdeen. And my mom, the saint that she is, or she was, I should say, took me every day and waited for me to attend classes. And so I was like a day student. So I graduated actually from both schools. And that's where I met my husband, Seth, who was visually impaired also. He has genital glaucoma. And again, his family never had it. So he did end up losing all his vision. So he is now totally blind. And over the years after we were married, he lost most of his hearing. So he is actually hearing impaired also. But so 19, my vision changed within 2 weeks, Greg. So wow. So I was almost blind within 2 weeks. So that's where the journey of all of my surgeries, going from fairly stable vision to almost nothing to better vision to not good vision to back and forth. So right now I had some surgery back in end of 2021 that had to replace some pumps. I actually have glaucoma also because of, that's one of the side effects of aniridia. So I had to replace one of, I have pumps in both of my eye shunts to help control so I almost lost most of my vision then in my good eye. My right eye hardly has any vision. My good eye has decent vision, pretty good vision. So it's been a journey. So that's kind of my background, kind of a summed up other vision. So I still consider myself, fairly high functional, low vision.
Right. But definitely, like you said, a roller coaster ride, it sounds like you've had with that.
It has been, yes.
Wow. Before we get into your advocacy work, I did want to offer you the chance to talk about just education, your career. I know you have worked as a massage therapist. Do you still do that?
I do very little. I do a few people here and there. So I was really good with computers. So I actually went to school for computer programming.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't really my passion, but I got kind of talked into it. My medical was always my passion.
Sure.
So then that's when my vision changed and I had to withdraw from college. So I went back and I was a banker for about 9 years. And with my support of my husband and my parents, I went back to school and did an accelerated program to become a massage therapist. And I love it. So that was back in 96. And with that, I became a certified massage therapist. And then I kept continuing on my love for sports and fitness. I became a certified sports massage therapist. So with that degree that I have with that, the type of degree I have with that, I actually could go, like, say, work for an NFL team or a hockey team or a basketball team. Yeah. So when I did my continuing ed, I was working for a chiropractor, and he's like, this isn't continuing ed, this is like another huge degree. So he was going to give me a bad time.
Right.
So then I became a certified lymphedema technician, because lymphedema is a medical condition, and it's very, it's a severe condition. Majority of the time you hear about it with cancer patients, but you can have it because of vascular or diabetes or, a lot of other, injuries. It could be your lifestyle. So by that time I was working, I was managing, I got hired to develop a program at the Sanford Health Medical Center in Sioux Falls. So I designed the medical program and started working with anyone, but worked with patients. I worked with doctors, nurses, anyone could come and see me. So I had that extra medical background. So they ended up becoming a medical massage practitioner. And that's the highest you can go in that profession. And I did that in 2017. And about that same time, my husband and I were in a car accident. A car hit us and hit me more than him, and hit me and then sat on top of me. So I have permanent injuries in my feet, in my hands and back. I had some major surgeries. So because of that, I am not able to work doing massage much anymore. So I've turned to becoming a full-time advocate. I was having a really hard time deciding to give up massage or not. I had been self-employed. I've worked, like I said, developed a program in a major hospital. I've worked for chiropractors. I worked in salons, kind of a little bit of everywhere. And I'm very strong in my Christian faith. And I have been trying to pray and trying to decide what to do. Because at about that time it was COVID, and we had to, if we wanted to practice, we had to wear PPE equipment. And I really didn't want to do that. And I was working out of my home. So I really didn't know if I wanted people to come into my home. So I prayed. And ironically, that morning I was out doing one of my morning exercise walks. And it hit me that God had just said, you're done. You're done doing massage therapy. And that afternoon, Eric Bridges called me and said that I had been chosen as a 2020 JP Morgan Fellow Chase recipient. So I feel like it just all kind of fell into place. So I've been doing that ever since. So Sure.
Very interesting. And definitely wanted to dig in a little more just as far as your journey when it comes to fitness, when it comes to exercise, sports.
So yeah, exercise and sports. I've always loved exercise and sports, always, since I was a little kid. I remember being little and my folks were giving me exercise stuff because that's what I wanted. I mean, I got bikes, I got weights, I got a mini trampoline.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and if I was frustrated or angry or something, I would just go run. I was a big track person. I played go ball. I played some beep ball. I was huge into track. I played basketball at Groton. I was a cheerleader. So I always received the presidential award for fitness every year. I don't believe they do that anymore, but back in my time, you have to always be tested every year to see where you stood in there was a presidential award in fitness. And I always would do that. I'd love to hang from the bar. So the guys always had to do pull-ups and us girls had to get up and see how long we could keep our chin above the bar. And I would just hang there. They're like, okay, you can come down anytime now. So I did gymnastics. I did a little bit of everything. So that's always kind of followed my life. And being with sports, the certified sports therapist, I had a little bit more leeway to help my patients, my clients with exercise and therapy. Since I was trained and I was certified in that, sure. I could do some. So I did a lot of exercises. I did a lot of recommendations for stretching and exercise programs.
Right. Very cool. So in terms of the American Council of the Blind, ACB, I know you mentioned having won that award in 2020. And then since you have also gone on to become a member of the board of directors, correct?
Yes, I have. So I served, I finished off Katie Frederick's 1-year term in 2021. Yep. And this 2022, I got my first full term. So yeah, I'm excited. I love the passion. I love doing what I do. And I just see that ACB is a great place, and we have a lot of things that we can keep going and doing and growing. It's totally different than when I started back in 1984. I represented South Dakota in '84 back in Philadelphia as a student. Oh, so wow. So it's kind of showing my age, but it's definitely changed over the years. So
no doubt, absolutely. So let's get into the Get Up and Get Moving campaign. So I understand this campaign, this initiative really kicked off in, I guess, the summer of 2020?
Right, exactly. It was kind of a spearhead of a former employee, Tony Stevens, and Eric Bridges, and our president, Dan Spoon, kind of started it thinking that we wanted to get something going to get our members more active, sure, more healthy. And that's kind of the brainstorm behind it.
Right. Yep. And like we spoke about before we started recording here, obviously there's, a lot of research out there, statistics, whatnot, that, people in general with disabilities, but especially in the blindness community, unfortunately a lot of people are sedentary and not as active as kind of the average, person should be. Anything you want to mention on that front?
And that's very true, and with our members, we have Leslie Spoon, who's, our certified trainer, and she's like, even just tapping your toes, you can get your movement, you can get your blood pressure going, you can get, your heart rate going. So I think that's what we want to do, is just try to encourage, because it's so, people think when you get up and talk about getting active, you have to really get up and do something, but it's, as Clark Raphael said, you have to just increase that heart rate. You have to, get your heart rate above what you usually would have it. Right. That would be considered activity. So it could be just up and down your steps or walking down the hallway in your apartment. Right.
Just running in place, like you said, any simple things without even equipment, without any kind of tools that we can do.
Exactly. Swinging your arms and doing arm circles and tapping your toes and bringing your legs, if you're sitting in a chair, just bringing your legs up and down like you're going to be marching in place if you can't, because it doesn't matter if you can't get up and walk. If it's, if you have to be in a chair most of the time, you can do stuff like that. I mean, it's so the simple little things that someone doesn't even think about, but it makes a difference in your life.
Right. Absolutely. So kind of back to Get Up and Get Moving. So let's just speak about kind of what the campaign has done. And I know you guys have formed a committee here fairly recently in the last few months. And let's just kind of get into, the awareness campaigns and kind of things you've done in the past and even looking ahead.
Yep, we just became a committee back in October. Our committee members, I want to recognize, our chair is Tom Tobin, and then we have Dan Dillon, we have Terry Shiraz and Leslie Spoon, our committee members, and then staff we have Jolyn Bailey Page and Clark Raphael. So it's a small little group, but we have done, last March we did, I did a panel with some members and told their stories. We had someone from Indiana on, we had Zelda Gebhardt on, we had someone else that had another, health issues. So they shared their journeys of their fitness and how it's affected them from, exercising to weight loss to, just becoming more healthy. One of the things that we have heard is we did the bridge walk in Omaha.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone loved the bridge walk. We started out, we had 2 health heroes there. Walmart was there handing out water ahead of time. And then Betsy Lawrence from Nike was there. So it was awesome to have 2 health heroes there. And Dan, did a little introduction. Tom Tobin spoke a little bit. And then I led the group onto the bridge, but then everyone could walk at their leisure. We had 80 some people. We had 2 different bus loads.
Wow.
And it was awesome. We had, I took pictures, Dennis Backer took pictures. It was so much fun because you could just take your time and you could socialize and do it at your own pace. And everyone loved it. It was hot, windy, but it was a good time. So we've heard that's one of probably the most favorite things. We've done the dance party that a lot of people enjoyed.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, but working with affiliates and just members and committees is one thing that we're trying to really work on and into the future too, is to partner, because we don't want to sit there and tell you guys what to do. We want to work with you guys and help our members become more active. So we want to figure out what, everyone has different degrees. Each area of the country, down in Florida where you're at, your weather is much better most of the time than up here in South Dakota.
Right.
So as much as I love walking, I don't walk that much in the wintertime.
Yep.
I try not to, so we want to work with each area and see what we can do to help encourage and promote health and fitness. And I think that's one of the things that we really want to work on, is reaching out to our members and to the affiliates or our regional, and maybe do some challenges. We don't know yet. We're just kind of all working on that. We've had good results with that in the past, and we want to work with that in the future. I guess one thing is that maybe we want to hear what members want, what the affiliates want from us. Would be beneficial for us to know.
Right.
What you guys want.
Absolutely, yeah. And I did want to mention, I know you did reference Leslie Spoon, who's become kind of the go-to when it comes to fitness and certainly yoga, and she's very involved in the ACB community. For those who are not aware or familiar, ACB has had, these community calls pretty much since the beginning of COVID in March of 2020. And Leslie is one of several individuals who has headed up a number of fitness-related calls. And did you have anything you wanted to mention on that front?
No, and so all the community calls that she does, AC or Get Up and Get Moving, sponsors it.
Right.
So that's a huge thing. And she's a wealth of information. She does one-on-one stuff. She'll do group stuff. One of her members that we actually had in March on the panel is now more bedridden, and she still goes to Leslie's classes, and Leslie will adapt the exercises for anyone, whatever your ability is. So whatever your situation is, and that's what we love about Leslie, is that her enthusiasm and the way she can adapt to make it work for anyone.
Exactly. Yeah. And even kind of going back to what you said about the bridge walk at the ACB convention in Omaha, just how everyone kind of took it at their pace. And, whether you were walking with a guide dog or a white cane or just sighted guide or whatever, situation or circumstance you might be in. And then certainly when it comes to fitness as well and your energy level, we're all at different places in our lives, different ages, different physical abilities. And, like you're saying, just we want to obviously customize and meet everyone kind of where they are.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do. What we really want to accomplish.
No doubt. Anything else you want to mention when it comes to, say, the benefits of, physical activity, obviously in your work, both professionally and personally, just kind of your passion for fitness, your work with, perhaps athletes or those dealing with injuries or whatnot. What would you say when it comes to like a mental health standpoint, let's say, the benefits are, and certainly physical health as well when it comes to fitness?
Yeah, so, fitness is such a benefit. And going back to being a therapist, massage therapist, practitioner, so your muscles of your body is actually your framework of your body. I remember my teacher saying, if your muscles aren't working properly and that's your foundation of your house, then your house is going to have issues, structurally, internally. And the same thing with your muscles. If your muscles aren't working and your ligaments aren't working, your fascia isn't working properly, then the rest of your body's not going to work properly. And that means emotionally, physically, so your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, your lymph system, vascular system, it all is affected. So exercise and stretching is so important for those muscles and tendons, because when we exercise, we release endorphins. And when you get a massage, you release endorphins, and that's your natural painkiller. And so it's so important because you're encouraging your body to work properly and getting more healthy. And like I said, growing up, if I was frustrated, I would go running, in school. I remember one time in PE class, I was so mad about something else in another class, or I can't remember what the personal thing. And the teacher looked at me, she said, just go run. And I said, thank you. And I didn't even join the class. I just went and ran because emotionally that's what I needed. I needed to release all that emotion out of me. And I felt so much better. So emotionally, we have a lot of mental health, concerns, and it can be from anything from, there's so much range of mental health. And that's one thing that in my training, my teacher actually had to do mental health. I actually was trained for mental health. I used to have to work with my clients with that because my teacher had a foresight for that because it's so intertwined. So yeah, it's exercise, moving just that little bit again can help you emotionally, because if we're just sedentary, we're more apt to just think about things or worry about things.
Right.
And if you get up and you just move, you're not necessarily going to sit there and ponder on it.
Exactly. Very well said. And as we've mentioned many times already in this conversation, there's so many simple things that you can do, so many accessible things as well, whether you can see or not see, or no matter your level of vision, there's so many things you can safely do that are easy, that are free, that are inexpensive to really get moving.
Right. Exactly.
So to wrap up here, when it comes to get up and get moving, any resources, anything you want to mention if people want to learn more about this campaign?
Yeah. So we have our Facebook page. It's just ACB Get Up and Get Moving. So anyone can join that. A lot of people post, maybe even songs. We have some resources. I have some testimonies from a couple of people that are athletes that we need to get posted on our ACB website. So each committee has their own, ACB website. So we need to get that updated. But our Facebook page, you can go on there and get, information, share, ask questions. So that's the main way to get a hold of us.
Excellent. Cool. And I'll definitely include a link to that Facebook page in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be great. And come on to Facebook and share a link, to the podcast. And, that would be, if you can do that, that would be awesome too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Would love, for you guys to help share it, and anything I can do to get the word out too about this episode, and just kind of spreading the word about this campaign. And even, like you mentioned, athletes as well. Would love to potentially interview some of them on this podcast that, have backgrounds in athletics too.
Right. We look at, Doug Paul, another board member. You look at, Jeff Bishop. You look at Clark Raffel, Paralympian.
Sure.
So we have Donna Brown. We have so many that are athletes, and they can be inspirations. And some of them are just like big time athletes. And sometimes you just don't have to be a major athlete, but just to stay active is great. And one of the things to kind of finalize too is that we do advocacy work with the Get Up and Get Moving. And so with Dan and Leslie Spoon, they all got stranded, unfortunately, with that Southwest mess up. But they, we've worked with Peloton and a couple other companies, and they were actually at a hotel, and the equipment was accessible. They didn't have to worry. They did not have to worry about having help. The only thing that they had to find out was the on button to start with. But once they knew where the on button was, everything else was accessible. It was just, but that was part of the advocacy that we're doing with ACB and the Get Up and Get Moving, is that we're pushing forward for that.
Right. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I know, like, Peloton, for instance, like you mentioned, has a screen reader, Google Talkback, built into the software for that.
Right.
That exercise bike, and I believe they have a treadmill as well.
Yep. And they had it for both. So, yeah.
Right. That's fantastic. Yeah. And I know Clark Rackful, as you referenced, has done a lot of, advocating for that accessible exercise equipment, and there's certainly a lot of work to be done, but hey, there's some wins that we can celebrate here already, it sounds like, too.
Yep, exactly. So y'all just have to get together and keep advocating.
Absolutely. Yep. Clark's famous words, right? Keep advocating.
Yep, that's his famous words.
No doubt. Yep. Alrighty. Well, again, we've been visiting with Koni Sims of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And really appreciate the time, Koni. Thank you so much for spending this time with us here. Appreciate the insight, and really look forward to following the Get Up and Get Moving campaign.
Well, thank you for having me, and I've enjoyed it. So, yeah, we will keep you updated.
Alrighty. Sounds great. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter @eyesfreesports.